The snow was coming down harder than it had in 15 years, and I was behind schedule by 2 hours when some woman in a designer parka stepped directly in front of my truck with her hand raised like she was stopping traffic on Fifth Avenue. I am Oliver Osborne, and I have been plowing roads in Summit County, Colorado for the better part of a decade. My company, Mountain Clear Services, handles everything from private driveways to subdivision roads, and today was supposed to be just another massive storm response. The blizzard had started at 3 in the morning, dumping nearly 2 feet of powder across the higher elevations, and my phone had been ringing nonstop since dawn. I had contracts to fulfill, elderly residents who needed access to medical care, and a route that stretched across 3 different communities. What I did not have was time for whatever this was about to become. The woman was maybe 50 years old, with perfectly styled blonde hair that somehow remained untouched by the swirling snow. Her parka probably cost more than my monthly truck payment, and the expression on her face told me everything I needed to know about how this conversation was going to go. I rolled down my window, letting in a blast of freezing air. "Can I help you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. "You most certainly can," she said, her tone dripping with the kind of authority that comes from too many years of getting exactly what she wants. "I am Rebecca Donovan, president of the Evergreen Heights Homeowners Association, and you are in violation of our community standards." I looked past her at the subdivision entrance. Evergreen Heights sat at the end of Mountain Ridge Road, a private lane that branched off from the main county highway about 3 miles back. The whole development consisted of maybe 40 homes, all of them expensive vacation properties or year-round residences for people who could afford the mountain lifestyle. I had been plowing Mountain Ridge Road since I started my business, contracted directly by the county to maintain it during winter months. "I am just doing my job, madam. The county pays me to keep this road clear." "This road," Rebecca said, gesturing dramatically at the snow-covered asphalt behind her, "leads directly into our community. And our HOA bylaws clearly state that all vehicles entering Evergreen Heights must meet specific aesthetic and environmental standards. Your truck is an eyesore, and the noise pollution is absolutely unacceptable." I sat there for a moment, genuinely unsure if I had heard her correctly. The wind was howling, visibility was dropping by the minute, and this woman was concerned about whether my plow truck met her aesthetic standards. "Madam, I do not actually enter your community. I plow Mountain Ridge Road, which is a county-maintained road. It just happens to be the only access point to your subdivision." "Semantics," Rebecca said, waving her hand dismissively. "The road leads to our community, therefore it falls under our jurisdiction. I have already filed a formal complaint with the county, and until this matter is resolved, I must insist that you cease operations immediately." I felt my jaw tighten. Behind me, I could see headlights through the snow. Someone else was trying to get through, probably one of the residents trying to get to work or the store before the storm got worse. Mountain Ridge Road was barely passable right now, and if I did not get it cleared soon, it would become completely impassable. "I cannot do that," I said. "People need this road open. If you have an issue, you will need to take it up with the county during business hours. Right now, I have a job to do." Rebecca's expression hardened. "Then you leave me no choice." She walked back to her Mercedes SUV, which was parked diagonally across the road in a way that made it impossible for me to pass. The vehicle was running, exhaust puffing into the cold air, and she climbed inside without another word. She just sat there, her vehicle blocking the entire width of the road while the snow continued to fall. I tried calling the non-emergency line for the Summit County Sheriff's Office, but the circuits were busy. Everyone was dealing with storm-related emergencies, and a property dispute about a snowplow was not exactly high priority. I sat in my truck for 20 minutes, watching the snow accumulate, before finally accepting that I was not getting through here anytime soon. The thing about Mountain Ridge Road that Rebecca Donovan clearly did not understand was its importance to the entire area. The road was not just the only access to Evergreen Heights. It also served as a crucial connector to several other properties, and served as an alternate route when the main highway through the canyon got shut down due to avalanche danger. The county took its maintenance seriously, which was why they paid me good money to keep it clear no matter what. I backed my truck up and headed to my other contracts, planning to circle back later. Maybe Rebecca would get bored and go home. Maybe the sheriff would eventually respond to my call. Maybe common sense would prevail. I had dealt with difficult property owners before, but this was something else entirely. By noon, I had cleared 3 subdivision entrances and was working on a private drive for an elderly couple who needed access for a medical appointment later that afternoon. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake Morrison, my only employee and the guy who handled the smaller residential jobs while I tackled the main roads. "Hey boss, getting calls from people in Evergreen Heights. Says their road is not plowed and they cannot get out. You still on Mountain Ridge?" I called him back immediately. "Some HOA president is blocking the road, will not let me through." "Are you serious right now?" "Completely. Got her Mercedes parked right across the road, says my truck does not meet her community standards." Jake laughed, then stopped when he realized I was not joking. "What are you going to do?" "Keep trying the sheriff. They will have to respond eventually." But that was the problem with blizzard days. The sheriff's office had their hands full with actual emergencies. Accidents on icy roads, stranded motorists, medical calls to remote properties. Every deputy was stretched thin, and my situation, while frustrating, was not life-threatening. At least not yet. I finished the private drive and headed back toward Mountain Ridge Road around 2 in the afternoon. The snow had let up slightly, but we were still looking at another 6 to 8 inches before the storm moved through. The road was worse than before, with several inches of new accumulation and drifts forming across the surface wherever the wind could catch it. Rebecca's Mercedes was still there, parked in the exact same spot. She was still inside, apparently content to sit in her heated luxury vehicle all day if that was what it took to make her point. I pulled up behind her and tried honking my horn. She did not even turn around. I got out of my truck, the cold hitting me like a physical force. The temperature had dropped throughout the day, and we were probably sitting at around 15 degrees with the wind chill making it feel even colder. I walked up to her window and knocked. She rolled it down about 2 inches. "Have you come to apologize and agree to our terms?" "What terms? You have not given me any terms. You are just blocking a public road. Our HOA has specific requirements for any service vehicles that operate in proximity to our community. You will need to submit an application, pay the processing fee, and have your vehicle inspected to ensure it meets our standards. Once approved, you will receive a permit that must be displayed at all times." I stared at her. "You want me to pay you for permission to do the job the county already pays me to do? The fee covers administrative costs. It is only $500 annually, which is quite reasonable. $500 to plow a county road that I am already contracted to maintain. Those are our terms, non-negotiable." I wanted to argue more, but I could see it was pointless. Rebecca had made up her mind, and nothing I said was going to change it. She had probably spent all day sitting in her car, running through this conversation in her head, building up her righteous indignation until it became an impenetrable wall of certainty. I walked back to my truck and called the county road department. I got through to Linda Chavez, the supervisor who handled all the winter maintenance contracts. "Linda, I have got a situation on Mountain Ridge Road." I explained what was happening, and I could hear the frustration in her voice even over the phone. "Oliver, I appreciate you trying to do your job, but I cannot authorize any kind of payment to an HOA for road access. That sets a precedent we absolutely cannot afford. Let me make some calls. In the meantime, focus on your other routes." So that was what I did. I spent the rest of the afternoon and evening plowing every other road on my list. I cleared the main subdivision where Jake was working, helped pull out a car that had slid into a ditch, and made sure all the critical access routes were passable. But Mountain Ridge Road stayed buried under an ever-growing blanket of snow. By 8 that evening, my phone was ringing constantly. Residents from Evergreen Heights were calling, texting, leaving increasingly frantic voicemails. They could not get out. Some of them had work in the morning. One family had a flight to catch from Denver. Another resident needed to pick up medication from the pharmacy in town. Everyone wanted to know why their road had not been plowed when every other road in the county was clear. I saved one of the voicemails, a particularly angry one from a man who threatened to sue me personally if I did not get his road cleared immediately. It might come in handy later. The next morning, the storm had passed, leaving behind clear blue skies and nearly 3 feet of accumulated snow. Mountain Ridge Road was completely impassable. Even a 4-wheel drive with good clearance would struggle to make it through, and a regular passenger car would not stand a chance. My phone rang at 6:30 in the morning. It was Linda from the county. "Oliver, I have been dealing with complaints all night. The sheriff finally sent a deputy out to Mountain Ridge around midnight. Rebecca Donovan refused to move her vehicle. Deputy issued her a citation for obstructing a public roadway, but she still would not budge. They could have towed her, but with the storm, they had bigger priorities. So what happens now? Now the snow has stopped, and I have 40 families stuck in their homes because one person decided county law does not apply to her. I need you to get that road clear today, whatever it takes." "She is still blocking it." "Then we will remove her vehicle. I am sending the sheriff back out there with a tow truck. But Oliver, I need you to understand something. This has gotten political. The HOA is apparently well connected. I have already gotten calls from 2 county commissioners this morning. They are putting pressure on my department to work something out with Evergreen Heights." "Work out what?" "They want me to pay them to do my job." "I know, and that is not happening, but be prepared for this to get messy." I loaded up my truck and headed out. The morning was stunning, the kind of crystal-clear winter day that makes people fall in love with Colorado. The roads I had cleared yesterday were in good shape, and I passed several other plow drivers doing cleanup work on the smaller side streets. Everything was returning to normal everywhere except Mountain Ridge Road. Rebecca's Mercedes was gone. For a moment, I felt a surge of relief. Maybe the sheriff had finally convinced her to leave. Maybe she had simply given up. Then I rounded the curve and saw what she had done instead. She had organized a blockade. 6 vehicles were parked across the width of the road, all of them expensive SUVs and luxury sedans. About a dozen people were standing around, most of them holding signs. I could read them as I got closer. "Protect our community standards, no eyesores in Evergreen Heights. HOA rights matter." Rebecca stood in front of the group, looking extremely pleased with herself. She was dressed even nicer than yesterday, like she had spent the morning getting ready for a photo shoot. Several people were filming on their phones, and I realized this had become her moment. She was turning this into a cause. I stopped my truck about 50 feet back and got out. The group immediately started chanting something I could not quite make out. Rebecca walked forward to meet me, her phone held up in a way that made it clear she was recording. "Mr. Osborne, have you reconsidered our reasonable requests? This is a public road. You are blocking emergency access to multiple properties. This is illegal. We are exercising our First Amendment right to peaceful protest. We are protesting the county's failure to respect our community standards and the rights of property owners to have a say in what happens near our homes." A sheriff's vehicle pulled up behind my truck, and Deputy Frank Martinez got out. I knew Frank from previous winters. He had pulled me out of a ditch once when I slid off a back road during a whiteout. Good guy, practical, not someone who enjoyed dealing with nonsense. "Folks, I need you to clear this road immediately," Frank said, his voice carrying authority without aggression. "Deputy, we are engaged in lawful protest," Rebecca said. "We are not breaking any laws." "Yes, you are. You are obstructing a county-maintained road. That is a violation of Colorado Revised Statute 42-4-1412. I am going to ask you one more time to move your vehicles, and I am going to respectfully decline. If you feel we are breaking the law, you are welcome to arrest us." Frank looked at me, then at the group of protesters, then at the 3 feet of snow blocking the road behind them. I could see him doing the math. Arresting a dozen people, arranging transport, processing them all through the system, dealing with the inevitable media attention and political blowback. All on a day when his department was still stretched thin dealing with storm aftermath. "Fine," Frank said. "I am issuing citations to everyone here. You will all need to appear in court, and I am calling for tow trucks. Every vehicle blocking this road is getting impounded." That caused a ripple of concern through the group. Impounding meant towing fees, storage fees, and the massive inconvenience of getting their vehicles back. Rebecca held up her hand to quiet the murmuring. "Deputy Martinez, I think you will find that your superiors would prefer a more diplomatic solution. I have already been in contact with County Commissioner Peterson this morning. He assured me that this situation could be resolved through proper channels." Frank's expression hardened. "Commissioner Peterson does not tell me how to do my job. Now move your vehicles or face the consequences." The standoff continued for another 20 minutes. Frank called for backup and 2 tow trucks. The protesters kept chanting and filming. I stood by my truck, watching the whole absurd situation unfold, knowing that every minute we wasted was another minute that 40 families stayed trapped in their subdivision. Finally, one of the protesters broke ranks. She was younger than the others, maybe in her 30s, and she looked cold and uncomfortable. "Rebecca, I need to get to work. My boss already texted me twice." "This is more important than 1 day of work, Jennifer. We are fighting for our property values." "My property value is not worth losing my job. I am moving my car." Jennifer walked to one of the SUVs and climbed in. Rebecca tried to argue with her through the window, but Jennifer was done. She pulled her vehicle out of the line and drove away, leaving a gap in the blockade. That was all it took. 2 more people decided to leave, then another. Within 10 minutes, only Rebecca and 2 other people remained. Frank had already called the tow trucks off, seeing that the situation was resolving itself. Rebecca stood in the middle of the road as the last of her supporters drove away. She looked smaller somehow, diminished by the failure of her protest. But when I started up my truck and began moving forward, she did not move. "Madam, I need you to step aside," Frank said. "You are making a mistake, all of you. This community has standards and we have a right to enforce them. Not on a county road, you do not. Now step aside or I will arrest you for obstruction." Rebecca finally moved, but the look she gave me as I passed made it clear this was far from over. I fired up the plow and started clearing Mountain Ridge Road, the blade cutting through the accumulated snow like I should have been doing 24 hours ago. It took me 3 hours to clear the whole road properly. By the time I finished, it was almost noon and I was exhausted. I had been working for nearly 30 hours straight with only a few short breaks, but the road was open and the residents of Evergreen Heights could finally get in and out of their community. I headed home, took a hot shower, and collapsed into bed. I figured that was the end of it. Rebecca had tried her power play. It had failed, and life would go back to normal. I could not have been more wrong. 3 days later, I received a certified letter from the Evergreen Heights Homeowners Association. It was a cease and desist order, demanding that I stop plowing Mountain Ridge Road until I complied with their vehicle standards and paid their application fee. The letter cited various HOA bylaws and made several legal-sounding arguments about their jurisdiction over roads leading to their community. I called my lawyer, Tom Richardson. Tom had helped me with contract issues and business formation when I first started Mountain Clear Services. He was semi-retired now, mostly doing consulting work, but he agreed to look over the letter. "This is complete garbage," Tom said after reading it. "They have zero legal standing. Mountain Ridge Road is a county road. The HOA has no authority over it whatsoever. They are just trying to intimidate you. So I can ignore it, legally, yes. But Oliver, I am going to be honest with you. Even though they are completely wrong, fighting this could get expensive. If they file a lawsuit, even a frivolous one, you will need to defend yourself. That means lawyer fees, court costs, your time away from work. Sometimes the wrong party wins just because they have deeper pockets and more time to waste. So what do you suggest? Let me send them a response laying out exactly why they are wrong." Sometimes that is enough to make people back off, but be prepared for this to escalate. From what you are telling me about this Rebecca person, she does not sound like someone who backs down easily. Tom sent the letter. Rebecca responded with another letter, this one even longer and more aggressive. She claimed that the county was in breach of its obligations to the HOA, that my plowing was causing damage to the road that the HOA would have to pay to repair, and that my truck was creating a hostile environment for their residents. Then, the complaint started. Every time I plowed Mountain Ridge Road, Rebecca filed a complaint. She complained about the noise. She complained about the time of day I plowed. She complained that I was creating snow berms that blocked her view. The county forwarded every complaint to me, and while Linda assured me that none of them had any merit, it was starting to become a serious hassle. "She is trying to make your life so difficult that you give up," Tom said. "It is a war of attrition. I cannot give up. It is my job. The county is paying me to maintain that road. I know. But understand what you are up against. Rebecca has time and money, and she is willing to use both to get what she wants." The situation got worse in early January. We had another major storm, and I was out plowing all night. When I got to Mountain Ridge Road around 4 in the morning, I found that someone had scattered large rocks across the road. Not boulders, but stones big enough to damage my plow if I hit them at speed. I had to get out and move them by hand before I could continue working. The next storm, there were more rocks. Then someone poured some kind of oil or antifreeze on the road, making it dangerously slick. I could not prove it was Rebecca or anyone from the HOA, but the pattern was clear. Someone wanted to make plowing that road as difficult as possible. I installed a dash cam in my truck and started documenting everything. The rocks, the oil, everything. I filed police reports, but without direct evidence of who was responsible, there was not much the sheriff's department could do. Then in late January, I got the break I needed. I was finishing up my route around dawn when I saw Rebecca walking down Mountain Ridge Road. This was unusual because Rebecca did not strike me as the type to take early morning walks in freezing weather. I slowed down as I passed her, and that was when I noticed she was carrying something. A bag of some kind. I drove around the curve and parked, then walked back through the trees where I could watch without being obvious. Rebecca reached a spot about halfway down the road and pulled out a handful of rocks from the bag. She scattered them across the road, right in the path where my plow would travel. I filmed the whole thing on my phone. When she finished and started walking back toward Evergreen Heights, I came out from the trees. "Rebecca." She spun around, and for a moment I saw genuine fear on her face. Then her expression hardened back into that familiar mask of righteous indignation. "You are spying on me." "No, I am working. And I just watched you commit a crime. You are deliberately sabotaging a county road." "I have no idea what you are talking about. I have it on video." "You scattering rocks on the road." Her face went pale. "That proves nothing. I was picking up litter at 5 in the morning. In the exact spot where you know I will be plowing. We both know what this is, Rebecca. The question is what happens next." We stood there in the cold dawn light, our breath making clouds in the frigid air. I could see her mind working, trying to figure out her next move. "What do you want?" she finally asked. "I want you to leave me alone. Let me do my job. Stop with the complaints. Stop with the sabotage. Stop with all of it. And if I do not, then I take this video to the sheriff and you get charged with criminal mischief, maybe more depending on what other evidence they find. Your HOA presidency will not mean much with a criminal record." Rebecca's jaw tightened. "You think you have won, but you have no idea what you are dealing with. This community is my life. I have built something here, created standards that maintain our property values and our quality of life. I will not let some common laborer destroy what I have built." "I am not destroying anything. I am plowing a road. You are bringing your ugly truck, your noise, your working-class presence into proximity with our community. You are a reminder that the outside world exists, and we do not want that reminder." I finally understood what this was really about. It was not about noise or aesthetics or property values. It was about control. Rebecca had built herself a little kingdom in Evergreen Heights, and my plow truck represented something she could not control. I was doing a job that needed to be done, following rules she did not make, and she could not stand it. "I am going to get back to work now," I said. "And if I find any more rocks or oil or anything else on this road, I will know exactly who is responsible." I walked back to my truck and drove away. I did not turn the video over to the sheriff right then. Maybe I should have, but something told me to hold on to it. It was insurance, a card I could play if things got really bad. Things got really bad. 2 weeks later, I arrived at Mountain Ridge Road to find it had already been plowed. The job was sloppy, with snow pushed into uneven berms and ice left in dangerous patches, but someone had definitely run a plow through. I called Linda at the county. "Did you hire someone else for Mountain Ridge?" I asked. "No, your contract is exclusive." "Why?" "Someone plowed it, did a terrible job, but it is plowed." Linda went quiet for a moment. "Let me look into this. Do not do anything yet." She called me back an hour later. The HOA hired their own contractor. Some guy from Grand Junction with a pickup plow. They are paying him to clear Mountain Ridge Road before you get there each time. Can they do that on a county road? No, they have no authority to do that. But here is the thing, Oliver. If the road is already clear when you arrive, you are not technically doing the work your contract requires. They are trying to make you breach the contract so the county has grounds to terminate it. Then they can hire whoever they want to maintain it. Exactly. And probably charge residents a fee for the service. This was their plan all along. Make it impossible for you to do your job, get the county to terminate your contract, then take over the maintenance themselves. I drove back to Mountain Ridge Road and inspected the plowing job more carefully. It was genuinely dangerous work. The contractor had left ice patches, created snow berms that blocked drainage, and pushed snow onto private property in a way that was going to cause problems when it melted. Whoever this person was, they either did not know what they were doing or did not care. I took photos and sent them to Linda. Then I waited. The next storm came 3 days later. I made sure to get to Mountain Ridge Road first, arriving around 2 in the morning while the snow was still falling. I cleared it properly, taking my time to do the job right. Then I parked at the top of the road and waited. Around 7 in the morning, a pickup truck with a plow attachment showed up. The driver was a guy in his 20s, and he looked confused to find the road already clear. I got out and walked over to him. "You the guy the HOA hired?" I asked. "Yeah, they are paying me $200 per plow. Easy money." "Did they tell you this is a county-maintained road? They said it was private, community road or whatever." "It is not. It is a public county road and I have the exclusive contract to maintain it." "What you are doing is illegal." The kid's eyes went wide. "I did not know, man. They told me it was all above board, I just needed the work." "I get it. But you need to tell the HOA you are done. If you keep plowing this road, the county can press charges." He nodded quickly, already backing away. "Yeah, okay, I will call them. I do not need that kind of trouble." I never saw him again, but I did get a call from Rebecca that afternoon. "You scared off our contractor. Your illegal contractor who was working a road he had no authority to plow, yes. You are costing us money." The HOA has invested resources into solving this problem, and you keep interfering. "Rebecca, you do not get to solve a problem that does not exist. Mountain Ridge Road is maintained by the county. You have no say in how that happens. We will see about that. The county commissioners are meeting next week, and I have secured a spot on the agenda. We are going to present our case formally, and we are going to win. You can count on that." She hung up before I could respond. The county commissioners' meeting was held on a Tuesday evening at the county offices in Breckenridge. I had never attended one before, but Tom insisted I should be there. "This is where the real battle is going to happen," he said. "Rebecca is trying to get the commissioners to pressure the road department into terminating your contract. If she succeeds, everything else becomes irrelevant." The meeting room was packed. Rebecca had mobilized residents from Evergreen Heights, and they filled most of the seats. I recognized several faces from the blockade. They all wore matching shirts that said "Community Standards Matter" in bold letters. The first hour of the meeting was routine county business, boring discussions about budgets and permits that most of the audience ignored. Then the clerk called Rebecca's agenda item. Rebecca walked to the podium like she was approaching a throne. She had a prepared presentation with slides, charts, photos. She must have spent days putting it together. "Commissioners, thank you for your time this evening. I am here representing the Evergreen Heights Homeowners Association and 40 families who feel their voices have been ignored by the county road department. Our community pays significant property taxes. We contribute to this county's economy and reputation. And yet, we are forced to endure substandard service from a contractor who refuses to meet basic standards of professionalism." She went on for 15 minutes, painting a picture of me as some kind of rogue operator who was making life miserable for innocent homeowners. She showed photos of my truck, calling it an eyesore. She played recordings of the Plow's engine, claiming the noise was excessive. She even had testimony from residents who claimed I had damaged their property with careless snow placement. It was all nonsense, but it was convincing nonsense. Rebecca knew how to work a room, and by the time she finished, several commissioners were nodding along with her arguments. Then it was my turn. I walked to the podium with a folder full of my own documentation, photos of the sabotage, the video of Rebecca scattering rocks, testimony from other residents who appreciated my work, my contract with the county and records showing I had fulfilled every obligation. Commissioners, I have been maintaining mountain roads for 10 years. I take pride in my work, and I have never had complaints like this from any other community. The reason Evergreen Heights is different is because their HOA president has decided that a county road should be subject to her private rules. She has blocked my access, organized illegal protests, hired competing contractors to sabotage my work, and even personally vandalized the road to make my job more difficult. This is not about service quality. This is about one person who thinks the law does not apply to her. I showed the video of Rebecca with the rocks. The room went completely silent. I could see Rebecca's face turning red, her hands gripping the edge of her chair. Commissioner Peterson, the one Rebecca had mentioned being in contact with, spoke first. "Mr. Osborne, this video is concerning, but it does not address the broader issues Mrs. Donovan has raised. Her community has legitimate concerns about noise, timing, and the impact of your operations. With respect, Commissioner, those concerns are not legitimate. The county contract specifies when and how I am to maintain these roads. I follow those specifications exactly. If the HOA has issues with the county's standards, that is a separate discussion. But my contract is clear, and I am fulfilling it." Commissioner Maria Santos, who represented our district, leaned forward. "I have reviewed Mr. Osborne's contract and his performance records. He has consistently met or exceeded county standards. I have also reviewed the complaints from Evergreen Heights, and frankly, most of them are frivolous. Mrs. Donovan, your HOA does not have authority over a county road. That is a legal fact, not a matter for debate." Rebecca stood up. "Commissioner Santos, with respect, you are not understanding the nuance of this situation. We are not claiming authority over the road itself. We are simply asking that the county consider the impact of its operations on surrounding communities and work with us to find solutions that meet everyone's needs." "What solutions are you proposing?" Santos asked. "We have developed a comprehensive set of standards for service vehicles operating near our community. Noise restrictions, aesthetic requirements, timing limitations. We believe these standards can be implemented without significantly impacting the contractor's ability to do his work." I could not stay quiet. "Those standards would make it impossible to plow effectively. Your noise restrictions would rule out early morning work, which is when most plowing has to happen. Your aesthetic requirements would force me to repaint my truck and remove safety equipment. And your timing limitations would mean I could only work during specific hours, which do not align with when storms actually happen. You are not proposing reasonable accommodations. You are proposing conditions designed to make me fail." The debate went on for another hour. Other residents spoke, some supporting Rebecca, others supporting me. Linda Chavez from the road department gave a presentation about county maintenance standards and why my work was essential. Tom made legal arguments about jurisdiction and authority. In the end, the commissioners voted 3-2 to take no action. My contract would remain in place, and the county would not impose any special requirements for Mountain Ridge Road. It was not a complete victory, but it was enough. Rebecca stormed out of the meeting without speaking to anyone. Her supporters followed, their matching shirts a sea of disappointed faces. I stayed to thank Commissioner Santos and Linda for their support. "This is not over," Linda warned me. "Rebecca is not the type to accept defeat. Watch your back." She was right. Over the next few weeks, Rebecca tried everything she could think of to make my life difficult. She filed complaints with the Better Business Bureau, left negative reviews online, even contacted some of my other clients to warn them about my dangerous and unprofessional behavior. Most people ignored her, but I did lose one small contract with a homeowner who did not want to deal with the drama. Then in mid-February, we got another massive storm. This one was worse than the January blizzard, with wind gusts over 60 miles per hour and snow falling at a rate of 3 inches per hour. Visibility was near zero, and the temperature dropped to well below zero with the wind chill. It was the kind of storm where the smart thing to do was stay home and wait it out, but people needed roads clear. Emergency services needed access, so I bundled up, loaded my truck with extra fuel and supplies, and headed out into the storm. I had been working for about 6 hours when I got a call on my radio. It was dispatch from the sheriff's office. "Oliver, we have a medical emergency in Evergreen Heights. Elderly resident having chest pains, ambulance cannot get through, Mountain Ridge Road is blocked. How fast can you get there?" I checked my location. I was about 20 minutes away. "I am coming now." I pushed my truck hard through the storm, the plow throwing up massive walls of snow on either side. The conditions were genuinely dangerous, with the wind threatening to push me off the road and visibility so poor I could barely see the markers that showed where the pavement ended and the ditch began. When I reached Mountain Ridge Road, I understood why the ambulance could not get through. The storm had created massive drifts across the road, some of them 6 feet high. It would take hours to clear it properly, but someone was dying, so I did not have hours. I lowered the plow and charged into the first drift. The truck shuddered with the impact, snow flying everywhere. I could not see anything, just white filling my entire field of vision. But I kept going, using memory and instinct to stay on the road. It took me 40 minutes to punch through to Evergreen Heights. By the time I reached the subdivision entrance, the ambulance was waiting. They rolled past me immediately, their lights disappearing into the storm as they headed for the emergency. I started back down the road, clearing it more carefully now so the ambulance would have a clear path on its way out. That was when I saw the Mercedes stuck in a ditch. Rebecca's Mercedes, specifically. The same one she had used to block the road months ago. It was nose down in the ditch on the side of the road, half buried in snow. The engine was still running, and I could see someone moving inside. Every instinct told me to keep driving. Rebecca had made my life hell for months. She had tried to destroy my business, sabotaged my work, and showed nothing but contempt for me and what I did. She deserved to sit in that ditch and think about her choices, but I am not that person. I pulled my truck up and got out. Rebecca was in the driver's seat, looking terrified. Her window was frozen shut, so I had to bang on it several times before she could get it open. "Are you hurt?" I shouted over the wind. "I cannot get out. The door will not open." The angle of the car and the snow packed against it had jammed the door shut. I had to dig for several minutes to clear enough snow for her to push it open. She climbed out, shaking from cold and fear. "My house is just up the road," she said. "Can you drive me?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell her to walk, to experience even a fraction of the inconvenience she had caused so many other people. But the temperature was lethal, and she was not dressed for a hike in a blizzard. "Get in the truck." We drove in silence up to Evergreen Heights. Rebecca's house was one of the larger ones, a massive log and stone structure that probably cost several $1 million. I pulled into her driveway and she just sat there for a moment. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You are welcome. I did not think you would stop. After everything I have done." "I stopped because someone needed help. That is what I do." She opened the door, then paused. "Why do you do this? Plow roads in terrible conditions for not much money. You could do easier work." "Because people depend on these roads being clear. People like whoever just had a medical emergency. If I do not do this job, people get hurt. Maybe worse." Rebecca climbed out of the truck and walked to her front door. She did not look back. I finished clearing Mountain Ridge Road and moved on to my other routes. The storm lasted another 8 hours, and by the time it was over, I had been awake for almost 36 hours straight. But all my roads were clear, and as far as I knew, everyone got where they needed to go safely. I did not hear from Rebecca for a week. Then I got a call from an unknown number. "Mr. Osborne, this is Rebecca Donovan. I wanted to speak with you if you have a moment." "I am listening." "I owe you an apology. What I did, trying to block your work, the complaints, all of it, it was wrong. I let my need to control my environment override common sense and basic decency. You saved my life during that storm, and you had every reason not to. That made me realize how badly I had lost perspective. I did not say anything. I wanted to hear where this was going. I spoke to the HOA board. We are going to drop all complaints against you and cease any efforts to interfere with your work. I am also going to send a letter to your other clients explaining that my previous communications were based on personal grievances, not legitimate concerns about your work quality." Why the change of heart? Because I sat in that ditch, genuinely afraid I might freeze to death, and the person who stopped to help was the same person I had been treating terribly for months. That is not who I want to be. Okay. Okay, that is all you have to say. What do you want me to say, Rebecca? You made my life hell because I was doing my job. You broke laws, wasted everyone's time, and put people at risk with your blockades and sabotage. Now you are apologizing because I helped you during a storm. I accept your apology, but that does not mean I trust you. That is fair. I do not expect your trust, but I wanted you to know that I am done fighting this. You will not have any more trouble from me or the HOA. She hung up, and I sat there wondering if I actually believed her. People like Rebecca do not change easily. They spend their whole lives building up patterns of behavior, constructing elaborate justifications for why they are always right and everyone else is always wrong. One close call in a blizzard probably was not enough to undo all of that. But to my surprise, she kept her word. The complaints stopped. The negative reviews were taken down. I even received apology letters from several Evergreen Heights residents who had participated in the blockade, saying they had gotten caught up in Rebecca's crusade without really understanding what they were supporting. The winter season continued without major incident. I plowed Mountain Ridge Road after every storm, and nobody blocked my way or scattered rocks or filed frivolous complaints. It was almost boring, getting back to just doing my job without all the drama. In early March, I got another call from Rebecca. "Mr. Osborne, I have a business proposition for you. The HOA would like to hire you to provide additional services in Evergreen Heights: driveway plowing for residents, sidewalk clearing, ice management. We would pay you directly at competitive rates. Are you interested?" I thought about it for a moment. The work would be good for business, and Jake could handle most of it while I focused on the main roads. But working directly for Rebecca's HOA felt like asking for trouble. What is the catch? No catch. We need reliable snow removal services, and you are the best in the area. I know that now. I should have known it from the beginning. I will think about it. That is all I ask. I discussed it with Tom, who was surprised by the offer but thought it seemed legitimate. I talked to Linda at the county, who said there was no conflict with my existing contract. Finally, I talked to Jake, who was enthusiastic about the extra work. Boss, this could be really good for us. Evergreen Heights has 40 houses. If even half of them sign up for service, that is solid income for the whole winter season. I sent Rebecca a proposal. Fair rates, clear terms, no special aesthetic requirements or other nonsense. She accepted without trying to negotiate. That spring, I signed a contract with the Evergreen Heights HOA to provide supplemental snow removal services. The first season went smoothly, and by the second year, almost every house in the subdivision was using our services. Rebecca kept her word about backing off, and we developed a professional working relationship based on mutual respect rather than conflict. I still do not fully trust her. People like Rebecca can always slide back into old patterns, especially when they feel their control being threatened. But she seems to have genuinely learned something from our conflict, and I respect that growth even if I am cautious about it. The whole situation taught me something important about dealing with difficult people. Sometimes you win by just doing your job consistently and professionally, not getting dragged down into the drama or retaliating in kind. Rebecca tried everything she could to force me out, and none of it worked because I kept showing up and doing what I was paid to do. The video of her scattering rocks on the road is still on my phone. I have never shared it publicly or turned it over to the police. It sits there as insurance, a reminder that actions have consequences, and that I have evidence if she ever decides to go back to her old ways. But I do not think that is going to happen. She got what she ultimately wanted, which was some level of control and influence over snow removal in her community. And I got what I wanted, which was to do my job without interference and build my business. It was not the outcome I expected when she first blocked my truck that snowy morning, but it worked out better than the alternative of endless legal battles and escalating conflict. Mountain Ridge Road still connects to Evergreen Heights. I still plow it after every storm, my supposedly ugly truck clearing the way for expensive SUVs and luxury sedans. Rebecca's house sits at the end of that road, dependent on the work I do to maintain her access to the outside world. She understands now that the things she took for granted, like clear roads and reliable infrastructure, depend on people she once dismissed as beneath her notice. That is a valuable lesson, one she paid a high price to learn. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had not stopped to help her during that February storm. Would she have made it out of the ditch on her own? Probably. Would she have learned the same lesson? Maybe not, but I did stop because that is who I am. I do the work that needs doing, help people who need help, and try to do the right thing even when it is difficult. That simple approach to life has served me well, carrying me through conflicts with difficult people and building something I am proud of. The snow will keep falling in Summit County, and I will keep clearing it away. That is my job, my purpose, the thing I do that matters. And nobody, not even the most determined HOA president, can take that away from me as long as I keep showing up and doing the work. Rebecca learned that the hard way, but she learned it. And that, in the end, is what transformed our conflict from a pointless battle into something more constructive. She got an education in how the world actually works, and I got a profitable business relationship out of a situation that could have destroyed my livelihood. It is not a perfect ending, but it is a real one. And in my line of work, dealing with mountain storms and difficult people and roads that need clearing no matter what, real is always better than perfect. I will take a functional solution over an ideal fantasy any day of the week. The last time I saw Rebecca, she waved at me from her driveway as I cleared her street. It was a small gesture, barely noticeable, but it represented a complete reversal from where we started. From blocking my truck to waving hello, that is quite a journey for someone as stubborn as her. I waved back and kept driving. There were other roads to clear, other people depending on me to do my job. That is the thing about snow removal. It is not glamorous, it does not make you rich, and it involves dealing with all kinds of weather and people and problems. But it matters. Every cleared road is a connection maintained, a lifeline kept open, a reminder that we depend on each other more than we like to admit. Rebecca needed me to keep her road clear, even when she was too proud to acknowledge it. And in a strange way, I needed her to teach me about persistence and standing up for what is right, even when facing determined opposition. We were unlikely teachers for each other, but the lessons stuck. She runs her HOA with a bit more humility now, and I run my business with more confidence in standing my ground. The conflict that nearly destroyed both of us ended up making both of us better at what we do. That is worth more than any apology or contract or victory in court. It is growth, change, progress. And it happened because neither of us backed down completely, but we both learned to compromise where it actually mattered. The mountains do not care about our human dramas. The snow falls when it falls. The roads need clearing when they need clearing, and the work continues regardless of who is fighting with whom. That perspective, that understanding of our small place in a much larger system, is what finally brought Rebecca and me to a place of mutual respect. I still prefer the solitude of my truck, the simple clarity of plow hitting snow, the satisfaction of a job well done. But I am grateful for the human connections that came from even the most difficult conflicts. They remind me that my work is not just about moving snow. It is about serving communities, helping people, and maintaining the infrastructure that makes mountain living possible. Rebecca taught me that lesson by being the absolute worst version of herself, until the circumstances forced her to become better. And I like to think I taught her something too. About the value of honest work, the importance of reliable people, and the need to respect those who keep the world running while others complain. We were never going to be friends, Rebecca and I, but we became something almost as valuable. Reluctant allies, professional partners, two people who fought hard and learned from it. That is enough. That is more than enough. The road stretches ahead, waiting for the next storm, and I will be ready when it comes. That is my promise to everyone who depends on Mountain Ridge Road staying clear. Not because an HOA president finally approved of me, but because it is my job, my calling, the thing I was meant to do, and nothing, not blockades or complaints or sabotage or drama, will ever change that fundamental truth. The snow falls, I clear it, and life goes on. Simple, essential, meaningful. Just the way I like it.